We'll start. Mr. McCarthy, you want to open this up?
Good morning, December 17th, all members present.
Okay, good morning. First this morning, I'd like to have Mr. Musnug come up. There is a proposal from the Comac Ambulance District, so I'd like him to explain what they're looking for, so we know. Mr. Musnug?
Good morning, members of the town board.
Good morning, Donald.
On November 22nd, the Comac Volunteer Ambulance Corps requested that you consider allowing them to use $64,300 of fund balance, representing our proportionate share towards the purchase of 2 new emergency vehicles. They also requested the town of Huntington to allow them to use $35,700, which is their proportionate share of the same $100,000. The $100,000 will be put directly towards the purchase price of the vehicles with a total cost of $253,487, purchased off of the New York State bid list. Comac Volunteer Ambulance Corps has already made a down payment of $52,131, and the remaining $101,000 will be financed with a bank and paid by CVAC over time. Debt service payments have already been included in their 2020 budget. The vehicles are replacing 2 older vehicles in their fleet, which have become unserviceable and must be retired. The final loan application will be submitted once both towns approve the use of fund balance. It's my understanding that Huntington is passing it today.
They are?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of 2019, we project fund balance will approximate $254,000, so there's plenty of funds in their fund balance to accommodate the $64,000 that they need for the
So we
payment.
keep their fund balance in our budget here in the town?
Yes,
Right.
and
And
the
they
reason
work
why
off
they
of
have a
that?
larger
Yeah.
fund balance is because of the move towards the insurance billing. So the agreement that was reached is that their, the earnings from those insurance billings, which, you know, we support them in taxes, or the
The ambulance.
residents do support the ambulance corps for real estate taxes. And then in addition, they bill for patient services. And that is exceeding what their normal operating costs are. No surpluses are being accumulated for purposes of enhanced services as required by the state for being allowed to do insurance billing.
So every time they go out on a call, they bill us? Is that what you said?
No, they bill the patient, whoever
Bill the
received the
patient.
services.
They bill the
Actually,
patient.
usually it's their insurance carrier.
Okay,
Right.
and
So-
they get the money for that, obviously?
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Yes, they do. And then, you know, we when it first got initiated, we reduced the taxes that we were supplementing them because we knew that they would be getting
Right.
a windfall from the insurance billings. And it's only proper, I mean, these, you know, sometimes you have patients who are coming from out of town who aren't members of the Comac community, especially workers in Hop Hog area and other areas of Comac that have insurance. And why shouldn't their insurance
Absolutely.
carrier be billed for the services that are rendered to them?
I'm good.
Now, do we have a resolution, or we have to produce?
No, there's a resolution
It's
that
on
is
today.
on today.
Okay, and Huntington's will probably be on today?
It will be on today, yes.
Okay.
How much is the money they're looking for?
Well, they're looking for $100,000 in total, and our proportionate share is $64,300, and Huntington's is $35,700. So to boil it down a little further, they're buying vehicles for $253,000. They want $100,000 to put down. They already put down $50,000, and they're going to finance the $101,000. And the debt service payments are already in their budget
Got it.
for the future budgets.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
It's their money. It's their money in the fund balance.
Yeah, yeah. And all these new ambulances too, they, you know, they have, because of the new drugs now, that have to be refrigerated
Oh,
consistently, so most of these fire districts and ambulance services are, they have to upgrade the equipment or keep the vehicle running
oh.
to keep,
No, I'm not even a question. They're very important.
Yes,
The-
exactly.
The ambulance service, yeah, of course.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
cost of the
And it's their
equipment's
money.
gone up.
Of course.
Okay, also, I asked our Assistant Town Attorney, Jen Junks, to come in, just to give a briefing to the board on our possible proposal of establishing a permit, a company with a fee, for access for our beaches, for contractors to go in and do work along the shoreline,
Oh,
okay? For, in reference to the bulkheading, so that we need to get, if we're going to let them go through the opening, at Long Beach, which is primarily, or I think once or twice we let them on from the Short Beach location as well. We need to put some kind of controls in place so that we know what they're doing, so they pay a permit fee, we have a permit, and Jen will explain, so we know starting times, when they start, when they're gonna be on the beach, when they're leaving the beach. I can tell you that in my tenure at Parks, back a ways, we had a contractor go in through Short Beach. I think Mr. McCarthy remember this. And when they left, they finished the job and left. They left Short Beach a mess. They did damage to the parking lot, they did damage to the beach, and they just left, and then, it's difficult to go after them after that. So,
Good morning, Supervisor, council members. So this issue came up a few times over the past 12 to 15 months with people who are either rebuilding broken bulkheads, rock walls that have come apart due to wave action. In one instance, one of the Nissaquag residents tore down an old bulkhead and replaced it with a steel bulkhead. It's the only steel bulkhead along that section of Nissaquag. And as the supervisor mentioned, a lot of times they've come to Parks and asked for access, and access has been given. But we have a very weak policing practice of knowing when they're there, what type of equipment, how heavy, what hours are they going to be there in between tides, because certainly in that section of Nissaquag at high tide for many, many hours they can't work at all because the water has come all the way up. The beach is eroded that much. The beach is eroded because of the presence of hard structures, and there's no denying that at this point. However, the village has an interest in protecting its property owners. The town's interest is in protecting public land. And in between those, it's a hard mix to get everybody on the same page. So our efforts as a good neighbor are allow access, but make sure that we are compensated if there are damages, and that they take extra precautions to protect your public beaches as well, because that's where we're losing most of the sand, is along both wings as well as directly in front of the seawalls. So you have a fairly robust permitting process under Chapter 138, your dredging statute, and I think that could formulate the basis for a decent permit process also for work, construction, reconstruction, and access to the beach. We do presently require that they provide a bond. You may want to beef up the level of that bonding to make the impression of how important this is. You will have to decide amongst yourselves, what cost factor and at what level you want to make the permit itself. We've kicked around numbers briefly, but those numbers are really up to you at this point. It's 7 figures to replenish a beach. We know what it costs. So what does the permit really represent? At this point, as Supervisor mentioned, it would be probably your man cost, hours, and any equipment we'd have to bring down if we had to do repairs and replenish. Opening and shutting that cut is certainly a cost to the town residents. So that's where we're at. I know DEW has stepped up and is putting up almost $150,000 for a mean high water study in conjunction with this issue. That's really come on the map in the last few years here, as well as what's going on out in Montauk, Southold, Southampton. And everybody's grappling with the same issue. At what point do we balance protection of private rights against public rights? So this is our step in towards enforcing public rights as well.
okay.
So, questions?
Thank you, Jen. I think what we'll do is we'll have the town attorney's office, we'll get Mr. Rico in, come up with some kind of preliminary numbers for us, and then we'll bring it back to the board, and then we'll make a final decision once we agree on what we should be charging.
Or any other municipalities charging for this type of access to their beaches?
There are a lot of states charging, and counties and states, Maine, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, in the lakes regions up in New York State, all along there as well.
Okay.
The state issues permits, but they stop short of worrying about the physical access.
Right.
They're just, their thought process ends at the point of just allowing the structure itself. So yes, and if it would be helpful, I'll put some questions into those municipalities and see what they're charging
Yeah, just-
and why. Is there a relation between the number they're charging and the work that actually gets done, or has to be reworked?
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jen.
Okay.
Anybody needs repair, private.
Repair, oh, I see what you're
Repair or
saying.
rebuild, whatever.
Okay, no, I couldn't, I wasn't sure what she was using it for. So if Mrs. Whitman that goes in needs a repair, she needs to bring trucks in. There's an access fee for those trucks.
That's what she said.
Also on the agenda, there's a resolution on today. You all have received copies of these fee increases that were recommended by Parks Department. So that resolution is on the agenda.
Does
I
that
do-
change the camping fee to $35?
Yes.
Is that done?
Yeah, we changed it to 35, from 50 to 35. We did, that's primarily a family outing when they do that, so we brought that down. And the other ones, we went over with Mr. Loman and Joe Rico, and I think they're in line with the increases. I do not have anything else. Mr. McCarthy?
No, I'm good.
No,
I have nothing.
Nothing? Okay, then I move to go into executive.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I move to close executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
aye.
And I move to close this morning's work session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.